My name is Juan del Rio. I'm from Spain. I live in Cardedeu, very close to Barcelona. And I've been working for the past 20 years catalyzing local community projects, transition initiatives, and regenerative communities and projects. I've been leading the transition towns movement in the Spanish-speaking world, in Spain, but also supporting it in Latin America and in other places. And currently, I'm the co-director of ECOLISE. ECOLISE is the European network for community-led initiatives on climate change and sustainability. It was born in 2014 as an experiment wanted to bring together different community-led movements. At that moment, mainly, it was permaculture, transition initiatives or transition towns movement, and eco-villages. But then it has been growing in diversity, like, for example, social solidarity economy, community organizers, and several movements. Gaia Education is also part of ECOLISE, and so on. ECOLISE, that I've been part since the beginning, and its co-director, is present in more than 20 countries, and it has more than 50 members. And what it wants is, by bringing the voice of our members, that most of them are at the same time national networks, they are the ones connecting to that really local communities. We want to bring that voice at higher levels. For example, we work on advocacy. We bring that voice at European level to try to influence some of those policies. And at the same time, we want to support our members and the communities at local level on how can they implement and adapt the current policies that they already exist. Because sometimes when you are working in your community, you know, these higher scales, they seem so far away and you don't even know how to connect with them or how to participate. But there's also resources flowing from there, and we want to enable those type of resources. So we work on policy, we work on networking and enabling capacities of our members. We work on sharing and inspiring the story, inspiring people, you know, by sharing the stories of our members, positive case studies, but also cases where we have things to learn because maybe they didn't succeed. And also we work on research because we need to really show the positive impact of the thousands of local small community initiatives working on many different topics that are happening at the same time in different places. You know, I grew up in Mallorca, a beautiful island, but it was totally dependent on tourism, and tourism was destroying the island. So when I was a kid, for me it was clear that I wanted to be an ecologist, a biologist, and I wanted to work with nature. But when I started to grow up, I realized that the best I could do to protect that nature, it was to work with people. Because we needed to change our culture, to change the way we're doing things. So that was kind of the seed of it. But then through my whole life, step by step, I've been understanding that the best way to build these new alternatives, it was by working at local level with communities, with people, in trying to do the things in a different way. So I was studying a master's in 27 about sustainability, and I did my master's degree on how my master's thesis on how the transition towns movement that it was at that moment popping up in the UK could adapt to the south of Europe. That was the beginning. But then since then I've been learning more and more, visiting projects, developing different networks, and meeting more and more people. I think it's very, very important to work at community level, also at local and bioregional level. But we need to be connected. We need to learn from each other, and we need to understand that we face similar challenges all over the world. Some of them, of course, are global. But then we need to design specific solutions that are adapted to each reality, to each context. So how to build this network, both acting local but a global network, I think that's clue. Spain is currently, and the whole Mediterranean region, is currently facing a lot of problems due to climate emergency, because of the droughts, because of the desertification. All scenarios talk about an Iberian Peninsula where only the north of it, the Atlantic coast, will remain, let's say more or less in the same way, and the rest it will be quite like a desert, no? And the economy, it has been based a lot in tourism, in centralization towards either the center in Madrid or the coast, and also production with big monocultures and the population of a huge part of the country. So I think coming back to local and coming back to regions that are right now quite depopulated. Let's not forget that apart from Lapland, the region in Europe with less population, bigger than whole Belgium, it's in Spain. So there are regions with a lot of population, the whole coast, there's almost no place without buildings. But then you go to the center and there are thousands of abandoned villages, towns, no? So I think right now there's a movement of coming back in a way. And I think, yeah, Spain is struggling in different ways. Also, the financial crisis of 2008 was very, very strong in terms of, for example, movement building. I don't know if you remember about the Arab Spring. So just after the Arab Spring, in May, that's why we call it 15M, 15 of May. It started the movement of the Indignados. That was the seed of what happened afterwards with the Occupy movement in the Anglo-Saxon world. So just that happened due to the financial crisis. So I think far right is getting more and more power. Levels of injustice are increasing. So I think it's getting more and more challenging, despite the left-wing government that we have had in the past years. In Spain, we have a very, very strong social solidarity economy movement with hundreds and thousands of cooperatives all over Spain that they are trying to build new ways of doing economy in a more social and solidarity way. For example, we also have a very strong municipalist movement. And there's a very strong ecofeminism movement too. So I think there's a lot of very important reactions towards that polarization that is happening not only in Spain but in many different places. No? What I think is needed is that all these different movements find a way to come more together. And I think what I'm experiencing, sensing in Spain, but also in other places, is that maybe 10, 15 years ago, we had a lot of competition among these movements, but now some sort of convergence is happening more and more. So my hope is that we will be able to create these shared narratives of possibility where we don't fight for small differences, but instead we are there together exploring these new alternatives. Wherever you go, it can be in a small city, little town, village, big neighborhood, everywhere you can find alternatives happening. Or it can be something small, it can be something bigger, but there's always people trying to transform the place where they live. And for me, that's something powerful. That's something that often when you are in your own little project, you feel lonely, you feel alone. And I think it's very important to understand that we are many. You know, there's this sentence it's an African proverb, but that Eduardo Galeano, a writer that died a few years ago from Uruguay, he was, by the way, present in the squares in Barcelona and Madrid for the Indignados movement too. He was saying that a lot of small people in small places doing small things can change the world. So for me, that sentence summarizes quite a lot of that. And what type of examples I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about energy, cooperatives. I'm talking, for example, about people that together, they decided they want to, instead of buying to big monopolies the electricity, they want to build their own turbine, wind turbine there, and they manage collectively and so on. Or I wonder about energy co-ops where there's more than 10 people, with a lot of volunteers, and all of them put a little bit of money, each of them, and thanks to that they create that cooperative, and well, right now it's evolving and growing. Or I'm talking about house cooperatives, for example, community projects, transition initiatives where there's little towns like Almocita where they have this systemic view where they work at different levels together with the municipality, with the mayor. So they work at the economy level with the social currency. They have their own food sovereignty plan. They do participatory processes, art on the streets. There are so many things, and in the place where I live, there are many of these things happening too. For example, we just launched for the whole Catalonia region. We just launched the Eco-Social Transition Assembly, which is an experimental process for the whole region, where we're trying to meet together all these movements on social solidarity economy, transitions, food sovereignty, many of these things that I'm mentioning, to try to create those shared narratives. Collaboration between municipalities and local governments with grassroots initiatives, communities, is essential. We need to create those bridges, and not only among them, but also with the private sector, with local enterprises and so on. I think probably this great transition, this big change process in most of the places will be led by grassroots initiatives. The Municipalities in Transition project, for example, is started from that need, the need of creating these specific collaboration spaces between local transition initiatives and municipalities. It's an action research project where we researched where that type of collaboration was already happening, and with that information, we developed a framework, a methodology to test and to apply in different municipalities. That experiment has been happening in the past 5-6 years. And now we are working with many municipalities around Europe, but also in different places of the world, in Brazil, and we train facilitators with this methodology from Asia, from Europe, and North and South America. And it's I'd say at the beginning, but it's working well. And I think at the end, if you are in your own community and you don't know exactly how to approach the municipality, the first thing you need to do is not to go there requesting for money or for, the municipality will need to have a facilitator role, like giving resources, spaces, supporting, but more about, hey, how can I support you in this role? Because often in the municipality, they don't know either. So yeah, I think it's a must to evolve, to develop this collaboration.